Okay. Sorry,
run through my highest priority projects to address these challenges. The Holidays Act. This year, reforming the Holidays Act remains one of my biggest priorities, and I intend to introduce a bill later this year. We have invested time wisely to consult with technical experts, employers, and workers on an exposure draft bill. Feedback is clear that fundamental change is needed to provide the simplicity and certainty that employers and employees need. To replace the complex current arrangements, I intend to introduce an hours-based accrual model for annual leave and sick leave, and an expanded version of pay-as-you-go so that everyone can benefit from flexible working arrangements. This year, I expect to progress changes to legislation to deliver on the commitment in the ACT National Coalition Agreement to reform health and safety laws and regulations. I believe that we can keep workers safe from harm without stifling economic growth by bogging down businesses with complex or confusing rules and regulations. I've heard from businesses, workers, and employers across the country that we can do better, and we will. I recently announced a suite of changes to the work health and safety system. This includes improvements to the Health and Safety at Work Act to focus the system on critical risks and cutting compliance costs for businesses, especially small, low-risk businesses. I'm also making a range of legislative and operational changes to improve business certainty and public confidence in WorkSafe. In the coming months, I intend to seek Cabinet agreement to a sector regulatory relief package to address sector-specific pain points in the system. I have also introduced an Employment Relations Amendment Bill, which aims to improve a variety of employment settings. The bill includes a gateway test to provide certainty and clarity when it is unclear whether a person is an employee or a contractor. Contractors play an important role in New Zealand's economy and society, and I believe these changes could improve conditions for some contractors, reduce risk for firms, and help ensure businesses compete on quality, price, and productivity. The bill will cut red tape at the start of employment by removing the 30-day rule. Currently, individual employment agreements must reflect the terms of an available collective agreement for the first 30 days of employment. The rule is convoluted and confusing, and the process adds another administrative cost on top of many others, and those costs are dragging down workplace productivity. Removing the 30-day rule will ensure employees and employers can be free to agree on a wider range of employment terms from day one of employment. The bill also proposes changes to simplify personal grievances. Employees who earn over $180,000 per annum will be unable to raise an unjustified dismissal personal grievance, an unjustified disadvantage personal grievance, where it relates to dismissal, unless unjustified dismissal protection is negotiated as part of their employment agreement. There will also be more consideration given to an employee's behaviour in the personal grievance process. Certain remedies will be restricted when the employee's behaviour has contributed to the issue and removed entirely if their behaviour amounts to serious misconduct. I also want to touch on the reforms to pay equity this government passed earlier in the year. I acknowledge these reforms have been contentious, but I want to reiterate that the purpose of the reforms is to ensure that a path for addressing genuine sex-based undervaluation remains in place. Reform was needed because the pay equity regime had become untargeted and unaffordable substitute for usual wage bargaining process. Pay equity remains, equal pay remains, and no one has had their pay cut. The government has also reinstated the ability to deduct pay in response to partial strikes. This is a vital step in rebalancing the rights and consequences of industrial action. Partial strikes are industrial actions that normally involve turning up to work but refusing to partake in key parts of the job. Often it is the public who is losing out or is caught in the middle when the partial strikes occur. Intentionally causing disruption to customers or to the employer's output is not only currently a permitted collective bargaining tactic, but employers' options to respond are limited. Currently, if an employee is engaged in a partial strike, Their employer cannot deduct their pay unless they suspend the employee or issue a lockout notice. I've heard of patients facing delays in receiving medical treatment due to increased wait lists, kids missing out on education while their teachers take to the streets, and honest, hardworking New Zealanders left stranded at train and bus stations as drivers and operators abandon their duties. While I recognise that employees are intended to strike, this disruption to public and customer service does need to be balanced with consequences for those who withhold their labour. Now, I know there's a lot more that's in our portfolio as well, but I'm happy to take questions on those topics.
Thank you, Minister. I've got a primary from...
Okay, so with that opening statement, right, and this is how I'm going to treat every single minister that comes in with an opening statement, right? She's basically just laid out, these are the things that I'm prepared to answer questions on. So I want everyone to keep that in mind when they hear the questions being asked by the other ministers and how well she answers them, because she's basically signaled that I can answer these questions. So I took down notes. She's basically signaled that she can answer questions relating to the following. The Holidays Act, okay? Your phone's right next to the microphone.
Yep, I do know. Yeah, and normally it's got the do not disturb, but it isn't kicking until later on.
Yeah, I normally just throw my phone outside my room. Right, so the next thing that's got to be covered too, that they've signalled that they can answer questions to, the nature of the ACT Party National Coalition agreements to improve safety without stifling economic growth. So she should be able to answer questions around that. Improve business certainty and improve trust with WorkSafe for the public. She should be able to answer that. The gateway test. So that's employers versus contractors. The idea of cutting red tape by removing the 30-day rule. She says that it's confusing. I expect her to answer why. Simplify personal grievances, so less claims, more consideration to be given to employee behaviour. Again, she should be able to explain why this is necessary. Reforms to pay equity.
Here's something worth noting that she sat there and said the causes of what could be classed as serious misconduct. I had with a former employer, the reason why I got sacked was because I kept contradicting what she wanted, but what I was contradicting was breach of food safety laws.
Uh-huh.
Now, should I be sacked as a delinquent, causable employee because I was told to throw the pies in the pie warmer and not cook them first?
No.
But, you know, is that a yes or no for Brooke to deal with? I don't know.
Well, let's see if she answers a question relating to that. So the other two I was going to finish up on was she should be able to answer reforms to pay equity. So she stated that they've become untargeted. I would like more explanation around that. And finally, she said that reinstate partial pay strikes. So basically, she made the claim that employees' options to respond are limited, aka the ability to reduce pay. So she basically needs to be able to answer those questions because that's what she signalled that she is capable of answering.
And I wonder, has she actually put any of the suggested amendments I wanted to have put into the legislation, which stated for partial strike deductions that has to be reported as the full wages, and then the partial strike deduction and the deduction to be taken before PAYE is calculated, but it must be part of payroll deductions.
Well, we'd probably have to look over the bill in order to find that one out.
Yeah, I don't know if it's got on there. Todd Stevenson, on the other hand, did like those suggestions in there because it's about transparency. Especially, you know, you kind of need it, especially if you're needing to get help from work and income.
Well, yes.
Work and income do like to double check with IRD.
Yeah, I mean, how often do they amend their proposed bills?
There's some of them have had significant amendments, but don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how that's done in parliaments, how they go about amending bills.
Two places between first and second reading at Select Committee, and then between second reading and third reading at Committee of the House.
Okay. So that would be something.
Select Committee's the better place to actually do it because that's where you can actually go into it in more detail.
Yeah. So
Whereas if you do it at committee of the House, that's kind of like you're at the last. It's you're kind of like it's the last ditch attempt.
So yeah, I mean, all I can suggest is I haven't looked over that bill for a hot minute, so I can't answer that question. But
I think I'm not sure if it has gone to law yet or not. I do know it's gone through committee of the House, though. Yeah.